The dining room was dressed in twinkling lights and garlands, but it felt less like Christmas and more like a corporate briefing. 2 weeks earlier, Dad had sent a formal email, important family announcement, attendance mandatory. Derek sat beside him in a tailored suit, sitting straighter than the centerpiece. His wife Amanda clung to his arm like she was already First Lady of Harrison Manufacturing. They knew exactly what was coming. I sat across from them in jeans and a sweater, Michael beside me, underdressed by their standards, perfectly comfortable by mine. I'd spent 8 years building Harrison Manufacturing from the inside out, quality control to operations manager, cutting waste, optimizing supply chains, implementing automation that nearly doubled output. 3 years ago, I left for TechDine Solutions to work on the software side of manufacturing. Dad hadn't forgiven me. He tapped his glass. I've been running Harrison Manufacturing for 37 years. It's time to talk succession. Here it comes. Derek has proven his dedication to the family legacy. He understands what it means to be a Harrison. Translation: Emma doesn't. He opened a leather folder like he was unveiling a contract. Effective January 1st, Derek will become CEO of Harrison Manufacturing. Amanda gasped like she'd just won Miss America. Mom dabbed her eyes with a cloth napkin. She probably dampened herself for effect. Derek shook Dad's hand, all firm grip and smug grin. Congratulations, son, you've earned it. Then Dad turned to me. Emma, I know you chose a different path. He pulled out his checkbook, of course he used a fountain pen, and slid a check across the table. $5,000. Consider it my apology for not being able to include you in the succession plan. $5,000. For nearly a decade of transforming his company. Derek chuckled. Hey, that's generous. Maybe you can finally upgrade from that little starter home. We own our house, Michael said evenly. Oh, cute. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Once, twice, 7 times. Emma, Mom warned, we're at the dinner table. I looked down. 7 missed calls from Richard Chin, my attorney, 3 from James Valov, my investment banker, 1 text that froze me. Board vote completed. Acquisition approved. You are now majority shareholder of Harrison Manufacturing. Call immediately. I stared at it in silence. Emma, Mom repeated sharply, say thank you to your father. I picked up the check. Read the memo line, for services rendered. Thank you, I said, and stood. I need to take this. Mom scoffed. Unbelievable. I walked to Dad's study, Michael close behind, and called Richard. Tell me this isn't a joke. Congratulations, he said. You now own 51% of Harrison Manufacturing. The board accepted your acquisition offer unanimously. You're the new majority shareholder and board chair. I exhaled. And Derek? His CEO appointment wasn't ratified. They want you in charge, immediately. I hung up, looked at Michael. I own my father's company. He blinked. Holy. We returned to the dining room mid-toast. Derek was already outlining his vision for Harrison's future. I sat back down, placed the $5,000 check neatly on my bread plate. Merry Christmas. I folded the check in half and slipped it into my pocket. Actually, Dad, I said, there's something I need to tell you. Silence dropped like a curtain. I spent the last 6 months putting together an acquisition proposal for Harrison Manufacturing. Today, at 4 p.m., the board approved it. I now own 51% of the company. I'm the new majority shareholder. You could have heard the ornaments vibrating on the mantel. That's not funny, Derek snapped. It isn't a joke, I said calmly. I partnered with Sterling Investment Group and 2 institutional investors. We purchased shares from minority holders who were ready to exit. The board approved the deal because they believe in my strategic plan. Dad's face drained of color. The board wouldn't. They did. The deal closed this afternoon. But Derek is Sue, Amanda began. His appointment required board ratification, I said, turning to her. They're not giving it. They want me in operational control. Derek shot to his feet. You can't just steal the company. I didn't steal anything. I made a legitimate acquisition offer. The board accepted. That's business, Derek. I've given 12 years to Harrison, and I'm not firing you. You're solid in operations, but you are not ready to run a company that needs to triple in size to stay competitive. Dad found his voice. How did you even get that kind of money? Institutional investment, I replied. That's how acquisitions work. Sterling saw the opportunity you ignored. They believed in my growth plan. Your plan, Dad repeated weakly. The same plan you rejected 3 years ago: automation upgrades, supply chain reinvention, strategic tech partnerships. Sterling agreed it could turn Harrison from a $50 million regional outfit into a $200 million national competitor in 5 years. Mom's hand trembled against the table. But the family legacy. I am preserving the legacy, I said. If Derek took over, Harrison would have been bought out by a larger competitor within 3 years and the Harrison name would disappear. This way, we keep the name, we just change the leadership. You had no right, Dad whispered. I had every right. You gave it to me the moment you brought in outside investors 5 years ago. You diluted your own control. Those investors wanted an exit. I gave them one. Derek paced, shaking with fury. This is betrayal. This is leadership. I looked him dead in the eye. You always said Harrisons build real things. Well, I just built a strategic acquisition. I secured capital, structured a takeover, and won a unanimous board vote. That's what leaders do. Mom stared at me in disbelief. But at Christmas? I didn't schedule the board vote. Amanda burst into tears. This was supposed to be Derek's moment. I looked at her evenly. His moment was being born male. I had to earn mine. Dad glanced down at the folded check in my pocket. $5,000. An afterthought. The next board meeting is December 27th at 9 a.m. I want you both there. Derek, stay on as head of operations. Report to me. We'll need your expertise as we scale. Report to you? He asked, stunned. Yes, I said, to me, your little sister who writes code instead of making real things. Michael coughed to stifle a laugh. I'll fight this, Dad muttered, drained of all bravado. You'll lose, I replied. The board voted unanimously. Everyone except you and Derek agreed, because everyone else knew Harrison had to evolve or die. I pushed my chair back and stood. Thank you for dinner, Mom. The turkey was perfect. On the way out, I placed the folded check on the entry table. I don't need this, I said softly, but thank you for the apology. Outside, the cold air hit like clarity. The Christmas lights glittered as if applauding. Michael opened the car door slowly, still in disbelief. That was the most incredible thing I've ever witnessed. I can't believe it worked, I whispered, hands trembling. Emma, he said, eyes wide with awe. You executed a 51% hostile takeover, on Christmas Day. That's not luck, that's strategy. My phone buzzed again. Richard. Press release goes out tomorrow morning, he said, prepare for headlines. And he was right. Next morning, Harrison Manufacturing announces strategic acquisition and new leadership. Industry news picked it up within hours. At 2 p.m., Dad called. The board really voted unanimously? Yes. Silence stretched. Why? Because I showed them a future, I said, because I have the technical expertise Derek doesn't, because I spent 3 years learning what he never had to. You could have come to me. I did, for 8 years, you rejected every idea, you made it clear the company was Derek's legacy, not mine. He exhaled. Sterling doesn't gamble, he said finally. If they backed you, they saw the numbers, and numbers don't lie. December 27th, boardroom. I entered as chairman. Dad sat at the far end, ceremonial now. Derek slumped next to him, fury barely contained, but the board watched me. They'd read my plan, they trusted it. Let's begin, I said. First agenda item, Q1 capital allocation toward automation infrastructure. As I spoke, I saw Dad watching me, not with anger, not with pride, but with something new. Recognition. Recognition that the daughter he underestimated had become the leader he tried to forge in his son. Afterward, Derek cornered me. I don't forgive you. I didn't ask for forgiveness, I said, just a decision. If you stay, you report to me. No sabotage, no ego. We build something better together, or not at all. He hesitated. The operations team respects me. I know, I said, that's why I want you, but this time, you don't inherit authority. You earn it. 3 days later, he agreed. 6 months later, Harrison announced a major partnership with TechDine. Stock doubled. Dad stopped interrupting board meetings. Derek stopped trying to overrule me. And the $5,000 check? I framed it above my desk, not as a reminder of an insult, but as proof of the moment I stopped waiting to be chosen. Because revenge isn't always burning it down. Sometimes it's rebuilding it, stronger, smarter, and undeniably yours.